welcome back to the Event Modeling and Event Sourcing podcast with your hosts, Martin and Adam. Martin, how are you?
Hello, Adam. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Long time no hear.
Yeah, we skipped 1 week, didn't we?
Yeah, I had a little surprise. Maybe later on in the episode, I'll have a little visitor so you can see what transpired. But there's a new, I guess, event modeling mascot that I
Yeah,
have.
nice.
So,
I like that.
yeah, I got very happy to have a brand new puppy, new wiener dog, German breed, so quite appropriate. And a wiener dog is quite appropriate for a mascot for event modeling because event modeling diagrams are long, and the wiener dog is long.
Yeah,
So this
very nice.
fits perfectly. So I think this is a
Perfect.
good mascot. Um, and, yeah, so that was unexpected, and I figured I wanted to record with you the next day, but then of course you had this really
Yeah,
exciting trip to Switzerland for a client there,
yeah.
which was we'll hear about shortly, and also got a themed a shirt for everyone that's event sourcing and event modeling. You know, a little green frog. You know, if you hire someone, you're capturing someone like you capture a frog. Then you have someone that won't do software like you want because they're
Yeah.
doing it properly. So
If you find this frog, hire him. Hire
yeah,
him
these
immediately.
frogs are valuable. Yeah,
Yeah,
and appropriately, the logo is green behind me, and your shirt is green, and this frog is green. So it's
yeah,
a very
yeah.
good
It's
episode today.
like we planned it, right?
Yeah, like we planned it. I don't know. We really didn't. So this is
No,
quite
we
nice.
didn't.
And yeah, just before we hit record, it was kind of funny. We were talking about different clients over the years and how we've had, I personally, and I think you're finding the same thing. We've had a lot of people reach out that they want to do event modeling and event sourcing, and they get the support from their managers. So it's usually managers that have to ask their managers to say, hey, can we try this with some teams? And they say,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. You know, they get the go ahead. And then by the time they're talking to us, they're getting this. Well, let me see the real benefits. I have to look at the risk. So I think, like what we were saying before we hit record, when managers of managers hear that they're going to, improve the process and make, get efficiencies, they're expecting maybe that Google Compute has better tooling than AWS now, so you're
yeah.
trying to switch them over, and that's good. But they really don't expect we're going to fundamentally change how software gets written.
That is
And
super
then when
scary.
they see that, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you meant this much change. Well, I'm gonna have to get some more reassurance, or like give me some more proof. I need 1,000 case studies, and we have a lot of case studies, and that doesn't help because it's really still it's that manager's manager um, feeling that they don't know what this is, and no
Yeah,
matter how much you give them, um, most likely they're going to continue to delay and put up excuses. So it's unfortunate, but I think it happens. I mean, it happened to the agile adoption, 25 years ago. It's the same kind of stuff. So
yeah,
this is just par for course. And this is a one-way street. Most people that go into event sourcing and event modeling, they don't come back out. So it starts to, get a larger and larger mind share across the world, really the tech community. So there'll be more and more people that are going to be able to support you, and you're going to be able to hire more people with that experience. And slowly, that knowledge is going to appear at that manager's manager level,
yeah.
director level, CTO level, CEO level, and it won't be an issue. And I'm personally extremely optimistic because any of the learning that you need to do, really, it's unlearning, but all of that is helped by AI tooling. Much like you were much scared to switch an entire programming language 2 years ago, 5 years ago, because
Yeah.
you just didn't feel comfortable that you could be as productive with knowing a new standard library, knowing a new syntax. Um, but these days it's different. The all the agent help and the amount of round trips in Google for 4 hours, they get erased, and so now people are less likely to have apprehension to switch, and I think the same thing is going to happen, with different approaches. So I don't know how to make
Yeah.
a state view, a read model. Well, here's how you make one, and you can find some examples. You can add that to your pre-prompts. Even you can get some projects that are templates for how you do slices. So I think it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the state of industry? Because I'm
Yeah. I
waiting for
mean,
some clients right now, and I'm sure you are too, that are in this
I'm,
position.
I have
Yeah,
a lot of clients. I have a lot of clients that are basically ready to go, but none of them signed yet because all of them are just waiting. It's. I mean, I understand it. I get it. It's a lot of risk for
yeah,
them. They trying something new. If you are the one signing this contract, you put your hat on the table. And if you sign this and it doesn't work out, it's you whose
yeah,
head is really in danger. So I get that. That makes a lot of sense. But still, I mean, we know it works. And what I do is I give a lot. I really invest a lot of time giving talks to companies with no payment at all. I go to them. Last week alone, I gave 3 tech talks to companies, just showing up, showing them for an hour for free how event modeling works,
yeah,
just to show them what is possible.
yeah.
And this slowly spreads the word, but it takes time.
It does.
And the good thing is most of them are recorded, so C-level executives can look at these recordings and they see the benefits immediately. Because in this 1 hour, we go from high-level requirements to running software more or less, and
Yeah,
they see it. And this makes a lot of sense, but still it takes time. So it will get better. I'm pretty sure 2026 will be awesome, but
yeah.
yeah, it just takes a little bit of time.
I feel the same way, and I remember starting this company, and kind of like your company's what, 2 years old now, something like that.
3 years,
Three,
3
yeah.
years.
So this reminds me of our company at that time. I was doing a lot of brown bag lunches, even in person
Yeah.
at companies. So a brown bag lunch is where a company may invite some external speaker or someone that has some new ideas to visit the company, in a boardroom or a meeting room or something, and give a presentation while everyone has their lunch, so they can kind of learn and
Yeah.
eat. So it's called a brown bag lunch
I do that a lot
meeting.
right now.
And so yeah, so I remember doing a lot of these in Vancouver back in 2016, 2017, quite a while ago now. But it was, yeah, free. Just like people have to know that you exist, that this methodology exists, that all of this stuff is happening. And back then I was um, uh, teaching a lot of domain-driven design as well in those. Didn't really understand that I already had something different. Like event modeling was something that wasn't named until we kind of saw that it was different than the other practices, and
Yeah.
that's why after 3 years of people saying, well, it's not really event storming, it's not really DDD, it's not really this, and so yeah, once I collected everything that we were doing together, it was its own thing. And so
Yeah.
I'm just not able to sort of give enough credit to our, myself and our contractors and employees, that we developed something new. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of when I remember these days, it's kind of nice. And I think COVID changed that. You could do that a lot more effectively because you could reach out without that in-person meeting. I think a
Yeah.
lot of the effectiveness before COVID was you had to be there in person to shake people's hands and they could see who you are.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot more people were, I guess, more likely to do business with local people, or at least people that could fly in,
Yeah.
and all that. So COVID kind of, the silver lining to all that horrible mess that happened in the world is that people had to be more open to doing things online.
Yeah. So most customers nowadays don't even expect you to show up. So my on-site rates are far too high. Customers don't want me to come. Most of it happens. Most of it happens online.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I have a new puppy now, so being at home,
Yeah.
it's kind of necessary for me anyway. But I plan to have the puppy with all the vaccinations, and then have the travel pass for her, and once you get the vaccinations, you can bring her on the plane. So I plan to have my event modeling mascot with me when I go
Yeah,
travel.
for sure. The event modeling conference 2026 is already in the planning. So
I
that
know,
would be,
yeah, I can't
yeah,
wait. You and Alexander are over there in Germany doing that, so I'm going to be
yeah,
doing something similar here in Vancouver. No official dates yet, but we have to work around this. Um, what's it called? The Web Summit has been in Vancouver, which
yeah.
has kind of uh, complicated springtime conference planning. It's quite a large event, and I guess other events can happen, but it seems like a lot of people go to this, so they already spend
Yes.
their allotted times to go to conferences for this particular event. Maybe it's not so technical. We'll see how it affects it. I know that one of our regular Vancouver tech conferences was moved to the fall because of this. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
All
it's
right.
another one that we sponsor locally, and then it just ended up moving to the fall. So anyway, so yeah, I'm actually looking forward to traveling with a little event modeling mascot, and
Yeah. Nice.
I think people will see some inserted photos of her once this goes.
Moving sticky
If you're
notes
watching
around.
this on YouTube, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll show her
Very nice.
then.
Actually, the workshop I gave last week in Switzerland was an in-person workshop. So these are rare nowadays, but this
Yeah,
was really, it's a completely different, uh, a different feeling to go there, meet the people, sit with them in a room. It was a very nice meeting room.
yeah,
So it was really a great workshop. I really enjoyed
yeah.
that one.
I do enjoy those, and you do get, I think, a much better connection in person.
Yeah.
Anytime that I mean, the last time I did one in person was probably Switzerland too, for a large insurance company, and
Yeah.
it was very very nice to be there and have lunch with people and discuss
Ac-
things
Yeah.
kind of off the record, and they can ask questions that they might feel would interrupt the flow. When you're there at dinner and at lunch,
Yeah.
they feel a little bit more at ease to ask more questions that they thought wouldn't be on topic or something, right? So that's nice.
Yeah, it was really interesting because you could really see how sometimes the whole mood in the room changed, and it wasn't really clear why. But I wrote also about it on LinkedIn. I called it the wall. So it's always when you hit this wall, when you have questions, oh, this is not so easy to answer. First, you have these simple questions, easy answer. You have a lot of progress, but at some point in time, you hit these hard questions. And suddenly, oh, we don't know how to answer that, and the right persons are also not in the room. Or what are we doing now? The first suggestion was, oh, let's postpone this. Let's talk about implementation. Let's talk about technology. I said, no. That's not why I'm here. We will not talk about technology. We
Yeah,
move
we
on
talk
with,
about it at lunch.
yeah. I mean, it was really they wanted to postpone all the hard questions and just move to technology. Talk about event sourcing, the fun stuff.
Hmm.
I, uh, I pressed hard to keep on modeling the business domain and the real problems. And in the end, we clarified tons and tons of questions.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the implementation questions do get put away or solved in a different way when you continue down
Yeah,
that information flow, business focused type of approach,
yeah,
and later the implementation questions kind of answer themselves, especially once you go through some of the core topics like to-do lists, that you don't have to sweat this. And once they realize they have full control of their SLAs, they don't have to sweat whether they're going to use this queue system or this middleware.
yeah,
They once they see that it's so simple that they can implement that on a simple file system, and it'll still work, and that the isolation of these problems to a slice gives them the playground, so that even if they don't know that implementation, they can find out at the time, but they're not going to be holding up the rest of the system. The
yeah,
rest of the system
exactly.
can still be developed, and so it's really good that you're keeping to that. And I think in the past, in this community, we've because it came from development, we make the mistake of going down the rabbit hole for different for different problems in the technical stuff. And so, yeah, going down rabbit holes is a distraction. Actually, that's another good reason that I have the new mascot. Her name is Leela, by the way, for those that want to know. She's a wiener dog, and they were bred to hunt rabbits. So she's perfect. You can send Leela to take care of the rabbit hole problems while you
Yeah,
continue to event model. We have
yeah.
a mascot to take care of your rabbit hole.
I mean, talking about technology is not bad. I mean,
Of course.
it has its place. Technology is also important, but it's not the really important part. If you clarify the information flow and you
Yeah.
understand what is the problem and how do we approach this,
Yeah.
technology solves itself. So it's really not the important thing. It's about 20%.
Yeah.
80% is modeling and understanding the
Yeah.
problem.
I had a post on LinkedIn that I did on this topic, kind of related, and it said that we worry about code quality and these things that we're talking about here, while our requirements are absolutely up in
Yeah.
the air and total. It's like building a house on a foundation of sand. You're
Yeah.
talking about the code quality being so important and understanding how this technology, this part of technology will work, yet the thing you're building is entirely up in the air. The requirements are use cases that are written with open-ended language, no hard kind of pre and post conditions, and getting those in a traditional way is hard. So I can understand where it came from, but then looking at an event modeling diagram, all of those things are taken care of for you. The pre and post conditions are baked in because of this
Yeah.
history of events, and so just by specifying the information flow through the system, you're actually getting those hard to reach requirements that in a traditional way are extremely painful. So I understand people saying, "Oh, it's too much work to specify, at this level," because I've written use cases before. I've made, you know,
We all did.
yeah, entity relationship diagrams,
Yeah.
and it takes a long time, and it's like, oh, we just want to do agile. It's like, yeah, solve the problem. Why are those hard? Doesn't make specifications bad. It's just you've had a way to make specifications that were cumbersome, and the quality of them was low or subjective.
Yeah.
So you had to really watch, who you hired, so they do a good job, and specify things right. It's like, oh, we hired someone that's not as into it or lazy or unmotivated or whatever, and they don't see specifications as important, and so they won't be as good. And so we'll just do agile because everyone wants to just get to see something on the screen, and we'll use feedback to do this.
Yeah.
Well, if you improve the way you do this by making it not subjective, and have a system by which you can only start work if you specify an event model, there's no way to move forward with bad requirements because
You
it
can't.
short circuits that agile life cycle before going all the way through deploying and users giving you um, complaints about how bad it is. You actually have to see that it's right here. If we implement this, you will see this on the screen. There's
Yeah.
no round trip to have to give you that feedback. So I don't know if you have the same feelings about this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the way I sell it nowadays is really like event modeling is your prototype. If you have your event model ready, you don't need to build your prototype. There is absolutely no reason to build a prototype in code. You
Yeah,
can get your first prototype in half an hour, ready for feedback. Show it your business people, and they will tell you how crappy your prototype is. Great, amazing. Let's refactor that. How can we make it better? Don't need code for that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I didn't give myself the benefit of the doubt that we're already prototyping. I always thought
Yeah,
that, okay, event modeling, nice that it's there, but I still have to do all the other things that we do in software, make a most minimal viable product, or
mm,
or feature spikes or whatever. I didn't really see that I could make everyone feel like, when we did projects individually, like just ourselves, without having to. The client gave us full control. We didn't prototype, and we didn't prototype because we knew that the event model, like you said, was an accurate representation of
of
what we
course.
wanted,
Yeah,
what the client wanted, and so we were in effect saying that, okay, well, maybe we're skipping the prototype phase because we have really senior people that are really good, and we're really leaning on the seniority of our team that we don't have to do these things. But really, it was the process by
Yeah.
which we could, you know, show the client like, hey, this is just like you would have wireframes to show what the
Yeah.
system will do. You know, it's not much different than wireframes, but we have that underneath that other layer of the data integrity.
It
Wireframe,
validated.
UI wireframes don't give you the integrity of the system,
Exactly. It's
but
validated.
in event modeling, we take the wireframes and underneath we put the logical structure of the data flow and saying like this can work or this can't work.
Yeah.
And if you have this variation of data, here's the way we take care of those variations, right?
Yeah.
We have that whole thing. So it's kind of neat that we came at event modeling from the need to address the problems and didn't even know that we had event modeling, and then it just popped up by itself, kind of,
Yeah.
and said, this is what you've been doing, and it works, and it kind of comes together as a little nice package of what you can do very quickly to
Yeah.
eliminate this specification problem, eliminate adding extra feedback loops, especially this MVP cycle and all of these things. And now with I'm really excited because AI has given a shot in the arm, a rejuvenation, a level up for everything. And I think, again, we mentioned this in the last podcast, that this focus on specifications is really now where the industry is catching up and saying that, oh, it's spec driven development. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, what have we been saying? I mean, even pre-event sourcing, and for me anyway, behavior driven development, specification by example, were already the best requirements that you could have. So even just by doing BDD, you're already way ahead in terms of getting much fewer hallucinations from the systems you do. But those
Absolutely.
BDD systems were still being implemented in a state-based, non-event sourced way. So you wouldn't have that evolution of your state, the how it got there. We never had that how it got there
Yeah.
traceability. It still had to be implied from a set of these sentences that you had. I had great fun with those frameworks for all that, and yeah. So anyway, I can hear the little dogs back from a walk. So I
Yeah.
can.
He heard you mentioned state-based, and it doesn't like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the event modeling mascot is very allergic to state-based.
It's funny. You can
Especially Yelp.
you can train a lot of funny things with the mascot. That's funny. Whenever someone mentions state, it should start to go
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Funny.
She's good that way. So she'll sniff out the problems in these systems very quickly. Um,
Yeah,
but
very
yeah,
nice.
so I don't know. That's interesting. These topics and how they're still coming up. But like, I think with the industry kind of changing, now you have everyone has a reset button of like, hey, we need to look at software development in from new perspectives, because what we have is an entirely different way of working as a possibility. So
Yeah,
what we've been fighting against is kind of like the traditional thinking. You need to really be in a new way of thinking. Those are a lot harder to put forward, but I think everyone is forced now to think in a different way because of AI. Like
yeah,
just
absolutely.
even I mean, people are getting fired at record rates from these tech companies. Yeah, who was it? Amazon fired 13,000 people, or Microsoft or something, just because of
The last layer was Amazon. Amazon.
yeah, everyone's going to be replaced by AI. It's like, we'll see about that. I still see that a lot of the hard work was actually done by the developers, and I think what we'll have is the developer will change. I feel that event modeling is the new programming language that people will use. The fact whether you use Elixir or C# or whatever or Java won't matter, because you're just specifying that, hey, I need to move the system through these states. I really
Yeah,
don't care, how much. And we already moved into that way of thinking with things like Lambda functions in the cloud, right? Serverless. The whole serverless movement was already there. You could have a function defined in whatever language you want to accomplish this particular thing, and you didn't have to deploy a microservice or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, now we are getting in a topic what we will discuss this week. I mean, I think when this episode comes out, most probably our nice coffee talk this week will already be over. But I think this is exactly what we will discuss this week
Yeah.
together with Allard from Axonic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe people will listen to both. It'll be they'll be out kind of at the same time, so that'll be good. But yeah, I mean, I liked, again, back to Allard's keynote from the event, their Axonic conference, and of course the event modeling conference in Munich. His talk was quite good. I think he captured really perfectly the multiplier effect, but the multiplier is not for free. It's not just that everyone is doing the same thing so much faster. The very way that you specify things, the way you implement, is fundamentally changed now. And I know this on a personal level from programming, where a lot of, and you probably know this from the Java space, with IntelliJ, you have a longer history with IntelliJ tooling than a lot of people in .NET, like myself. We only got ReSharper, I think, in 2004. And so the refactoring, which was sold under the TDD XP thing, changing the structure of the code without changing its function, promoting a variable to a parameter, extracting a method, inlining a variable, whatever you wanted to do. These are all keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
And it was actually what most people didn't do. People were like, oh, I don't do TDD. I don't do this refactoring step. I don't need ReSharper. I don't need IntelliJ. I use Eclipse, not knocking what Dave Thomas did back in the day, but we use Eclipse. I use Notepad or whatever. It's like, okay, fine. I mean, a lot of this is manual kind of fun typing, and I get it. I mean, I programmed on a Commodore 64 when I was a kid, and yeah, entering the same kind of stuff and typing is fun, and it's exercise for your fingers. Cool. And it's nice to see things work. But there's a level at which you want to jump in productivity where you have, I know that I'm going to move this parameter. I'm going to move this variable to be a parameter. And on the calling function, I need to, provide that value there instead. So, these type or extracting a method, now I have to instantiate a class and call a method instead of just having this code here inline. Those are things that I wanted, the refactoring stuff. And so after reading all the XP books and all that and doing it by hand, when we got ReSharper in the .NET community as a visual source code, what am I calling Visual Studio. It's been so long. I've been out of the .NET thing for a long time.
Yeah.
And of course moved to the JetBrains writer and IntelliJ and all that since. But yeah, I remember getting that and think, oh my goodness, Control Alt M. The chords, you just you highlight the bit of code that you want, select increase in context by pressing Control W would increase how much you select. Control Shift W would shrink it back. So if you're on a variable name, Control W would select the whole variable. Pressing it again would select the whole statements. Pressing it again would be that. And that was so nice because I wasn't trying to use Vim, going by word, the Vim shortcuts. A lot of people would add Vim as an editor, or at least a Vim add-in to have the jump by word, jump by paragraph, go to the first brace, all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, but syntax has changed. I want the tool to understand the scope, so I don't have to do the translation that I have to first fly the cursor over to the first bracket and then fly the cursor back to the other bracket, or know that I'm using brackets or braces in this case, and it's going to change my keystrokes if I'm doing a different type of level of scope for a particular case. So all of these things where I'm going on a little bit longer because we're going through the same thing again with AI in terms of what's happening, right? So that was a fundamental improvement, and for the tough sort of mandate of doing test-driven development with the refactoring step, you needed as much help as you can get so that no one could criticize you that, hey, doing TDD is slower than doing what this guy's just hacking away with no unit tests. You wanted to prove yourself that having the structure, having the discipline is actually better. A cleaner code. I was absolutely all about that, and doing coding katas and all sorts of stuff. I mean, I even
Yeah.
switched to Dvorak for typing faster. Just this is how much this whole, be as proficient as you can, and then doing the cones, the small little exercises to go through. Let's extract a method here. Let's do this here. Let's type this
Oh
here.
yeah, I did that too.
So,
The
so like,
katas.
yeah, people would I want to learn Ruby, so I'm going to do this for like learning Ruby. I'm going to do this for C sharp, F sharp, or whatever. All of these different languages, you're gonna be so good, and you're always like honing your skills at every second. But why, right? It was for this ability to have flow of
Yeah.
short, not making the typing of the code get in the way of getting your ideas of your business logic to actually work. That was
Yeah.
the end goal, is just to bring those two sides together as close as possible. And so what's happening is that people think they can, with AI, short circuit that for free, but it isn't. There's that whole level in the middle that you need to understand. So someone that understands how something works and is efficient with it is much better than just someone that picks something up and is efficient with it without understanding how it works underneath. So I
Sure.
think there's a tremendous amount of value for people that have experience in software development, because what you were actually solving was business problems. Even though you're looked at as a developer, your end goal was to bring the requirements down to the implementation,
Yeah.
to make sure that all of this stuff works properly. Meanwhile, business floated up here as just telling us what to do, and whether they told us in a good way or bad way it was enough or not would never come back to them. There was always such a disconnect that you could never blame the person telling you what to do, that the reason the project failed is because it was their fault. It could always be blamed by the developer. Well, you should have said that, and you should have had a feedback
Yeah.
mechanism
Of
that would
course.
tell us that the requirements were. I can't look after all the requirements. I look after so many clients and so many bosses and all this other excuses, right? So
Yeah.
now
I
those
asked you.
excuses are gone.
I asked you if the requirements were good enough. Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
well.
because I couldn't read them,
Yeah,
within a
because I didn't
reasonable
understand.
amount of time, because I'd lose my job, because I'm not programming, because I'm trying to decipher or proofread your work. I can't do your job and my job at the same time. I'll get fired because I'm not programming, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's this quote by Alberto Brandolini. It's not your business knowledge that goes to production; it's your developer's understanding of it, and there can be quite a huge difference in
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, back to this divide, like refactoring tools, that was kind of the epitome of productivity. And of course, JetBrains tools also had the templating, right? So if you had like a standard way to do a class or a specific method or whatever, maybe a set of
Yeah,
attributes that you always put on top of your methods or whatever, you made shortcuts that would give you those templates, and they would have dynamic fields in there, so you could tab through and fill them out, and it would be quite logical.
you could go
Um,
crazy fast with that.
yeah, of course, and especially like in event sourcing, where you have these templates are easy to make, because
Everything is a pattern.
because the what's it called, the vertical slices are identical. What you have, two core patterns, three sort of variations for automation. I mean, you could throw in a few more, just because sometimes you have a web interface, sometimes you have the processor, so you might have web context in one, you don't with the processor. There's a few slight variations, but really you have the fewest amount of patterns available through any methodology. And
Yeah,
so, before we had AI, and our guys still work this way, and people still don't believe me that we have people that can code faster than any AI can generate a solution. And that's true today, because after so many years, we have these templates, we have the standard way of doing a slice. So waiting for the AI to type it for us is actually slower than
yeah,
hitting a shortcut for that active template, whatever they're called in JetBrains tooling. That will just put it there, and you're actually writing less than a prompt, and you're generating code faster than the AI would generate.
yeah,
And people find that very hard to believe. But after this doesn't come from doing the sloppy regular kind of cowboy coding work or whatever. This comes through learning a lot of disciplines, especially in 2000, trying to get that, trying to make TDD work. So when I'm criticizing TDD, it's because of going to that next level with TDD and teaching it and trying to be excellent at it, and implement it and teach others in larger organizations, much like we're being, trying to drive event modeling and event sourcing. That was me doing that with test-driven development XP for many years. So when I'm criticizing it, it's not because it's not what I do, I'm going to criticize, I've never done it. No, I actually done it to the level that's higher than most proponents are going. I mean, there's still the people that are stuck there trying to promote it for the last 30 years. Fine, they haven't. On the flip argument, they haven't done the other side. They've stopped at TDD being the epitome, and they're not moving forward. That's it, and it's sad, but I think we should move forward.
Yeah.
But anyway, that discipline is quite interesting, because what people want out of AI is what we have without AI, and they don't realize what you need for that as a prerequisite, and it doesn't go away because of AI.
Yeah.
That specification quality has to be there. That ability to tell your boss that their stuff is underspecified or won't work needs to be there. You have to have a way to do that. TDD
Sure.
and BDD, sort of behavior-driven development and test-driven development, both aimed at making sure that the developer could spot through their own implementation attempts problems with the specifications. That's not good enough. It's too low level.
Yeah,
The
and you
scope
you
is
miss
too
you
narrow.
miss the big picture.
Yes,
That is
the
what you
big
miss. You
picture is
miss this
missing.
big picture, and that is the only way you get this big picture is by using event modeling, or maybe even event storming. But you need something visual that you can use to have this big picture.
Yeah,
TDD will not help you with this.
yeah, I don't. I mean, it's good if people fall into event modeling through event storming a lot of times, and
Yeah,
I still reserve that. Event storming is great for understanding the problem, kind of getting everyone on the same page, but it's still born out of just have that one event one day, get everyone on the page, and then you throw away what you put on the wall. You don't
yeah,
use it because,
happens
and
often.
it's a valid reason you throw it out, because your business requirements and your business understanding and your business needs aren't the same the next day anyway. What
Yeah,
you accomplished is getting, which is a big positive thing, is getting everyone on the same page at one point in time. That's a real good reset to make sure that you have fewer defects going forward. But if event modeling proposes that should be the status of how you move forward, no matter how business changes, it's the responsibility of those that are taking the influx of changes to their understanding to update the event model with those changes, so that that aha moment from one day is just a constant aha moment throughout the whole development life cycle, not just at
yeah,
one point in time. And that's why event modeling is used as all of the supporting tooling. We don't have a separate ticketing system. We don't have any of these other separate systems. Event modeling is it, because that's how you ensure that everyone's on the same page. If you have to fly from different tools, glue them together, even if it's just clicking a hyperlinks, it's still a disconnect. It's still managing multiple systems, and we go back to the old, how your wiki
yeah,
pages in your company are lying to you, because no one's going to take the time to update them, because you don't use them daily to actually drive the development. No one's going to documentation to just get on with their work. It has to
yeah.
be very concise and very small, and event modeling accomplishes exactly that.
But that is so fundamentally different to what most companies are used to do. It's
Oh yeah.
fundamentally different, and that's also the one thing most developers ask me is, okay, it's nice to have this event model, it's nice to generate code from it, but how do we do it vice versa? I want to write the code and then update the event model automatically. And I always say that's not the way. That's not how it's supposed to work. So I
No.
will not provide any tooling for this ever. This is not how it works.
No, the only exception is when you're forced to do legacy and you have
But
to,
that's a different story,
yeah,
of
you
course.
have to ask AI to say, well, can you make an event model from this
Yes,
old piece of code?
of
And
course,
yeah,
because you need the big picture. But
yeah,
it's not like updating the code and then it updates automatically the event model. Then you can skip event modeling altogether. You will not get
Yep.
any of the benefits.
But I think what people are going to realize is that there are better languages that are suited for. We already have a change. Like we already are changing from JSON to Tune, right?
Yes.
And some people are making the argument that CSVs will do just fine as well
Yeah.
if you don't have a tree structure, if it's very formulaic. And I've been doing that for our billing. Our billing system's event sourced, and our entries for what we're billing for are actually in a tab separated file because it's
Nice.
easier to edit, and it's
Yeah.
easier
Sure.
for humans. I mean, if I have to make curly braces and indent stuff, if it's just for a time entry, why would I? I wouldn't do it. My natural thing is to go through and make a tab delimited file because it's easier for me to type that and look at it
Yeah.
and manipulate it. So same thing. AI is just a reflection of us, and I think we're seeing that. Even though it's manifests as a token count improvement, it's just less stuff to
Yeah.
have to get the same idea, right? And you already put Tune into the Miro add-in,
Oh,
right?
fully supported. Yeah,
Yeah.
fully supported. You,
Yeah.
you, you save about 50%. It's 50% improvement over JSON. So it's
Yeah.
quite nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. Yeah, there's a so in I mean we will have to talk about AI in our podcast because I think it's fundamentally helping. I think event modeling. If you're doing event sourcing, event modeling, you are benefiting the most from the AI movement. I think
Absolutely.
everyone else is struggling because they don't want that level of specification clarity. I mean, they do want it. They're not willing to change from traditional things. They think they can keep going with traditional ways of working, and that AI will make it
I
faster.
really I see companies doing crazy, really crazy things using AI. The problem they all have is they want to unchain their data. How do we get the data out of our legacy systems so it's usable by AI? What they are doing is they're putting all these MCP servers on their tables, and they're basically providing all this data. And what they don't realize is they burn millions and millions of tokens by doing that. It's crazy how much tokens you burn by using these MCP servers, because they read all your database, all your tables, and they provide all this information. And it's not usable anyway. So it's
Yeah,
really, it's crazy. And if you look at it from an event sourcing perspective, all you need is just one more projection. You need this
yeah,
information? Great. Make one more projection. There you go. You don't need anything more than this. And we also discussed this last week in the workshop. And I think this is where it clicked for many, many people in the workshop, because we were talking about, hey, we want to have a search on our side. How would we do that? Hey, your Elasticsearch index is nothing but a projection of your events. Think about
yeah.
it. And then suddenly they realized, oh my goodness, he's right. It's just a projection. It's just
Hmm.
one more slice. We need one more slice and one projection and we're done.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
I love that. I mean, I remember the first time telling people about Elasticsearch, and that, well, if all your data is guaranteed to come through the stream of this finite set of types of event of JSON objects, you could do whatever you want with it, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
having that safety net that I understand how we got to any place in our system for any user, for all the users, for any kind of view that we want is it's crazy. And I don't I still, I mean, I get it. I mean, I still see the jump from not doing agile and doing agile, how culturally, in terms of a company, how big a change that was, and this is no different. But I'm really happy that there's something coming out of left field like AI that's shaking everything. Because when we were doing agile adoption 25 years ago, there was no tech breakthrough that was overnight. And if you look at AI, it's overnight. I mean, we had the
Yeah,
internet,
it is.
we had mobile, but like, oh, the iPhone changed everything. No, it didn't. It had, people were texting on their regular Nokias, and BlackBerry had pictures on their phones and all that. It's like, oh, big little squeezing pictures. Who cares? That's just a UI UX benefit. Sure, there was a larger adoption, maybe, but it wasn't overnight. There was still Android that happened before that. There was still Windows types of devices, and it wasn't really. something that you couldn't, um, you couldn't get a sort of in line to take advantage of. You could still start to develop apps slowly. Yes, is another thing that would
Yeah.
augment, your company's website. Oh, now you have an app. Okay, that's kind of cool. We could roll that out. The same kind of development practices are there, but AI really was something that just pulled the rug from under everything, everyone, all at once. You couldn't resist it. There's no way to continue with traditional stuff unless you were doing really really good work and you were using live templates. You had a standardized way of implementing, like we do with slices, that every slice is implemented the same way. You had,
No
the
company has
live,
that.
yeah, like I said, the live templates right there. You had a history of many years of many projects that, taking on new projects would just be more shortcuts, and like you're done faster than that. If you weren't doing that as a complete company with everyone doing it, AI just took the pull the carpet from under your feet. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happened.
Mike Tyson said it well. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That is
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, and that's what AI did. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it
exactly.
did. And I mean, I even felt it because, having put so many years in the into the JetBrains ecosystem of having the refactoring and having a proper abstract syntax tree. That's the logical layout of your solution, how your code is structured. JetBrains has this abstract syntax tree behind the scenes, kind of like if React, you have your like image, your object model in behind the scenes.
Yeah.
This is for code, and so when you hit extract method, it's not parsing text; it's going through the nodes in the tree of the abstract kind of way that the code is shaped, seeing what it needs to do, and then going and changing that in the actual text file, right? So it's this deeper understanding, right? So
Yeah.
having invested in so much into that, seeing it all just blown away that it's not necessary, because if I wanted to do 5 different refactorings, I need to extract method, promote this variable to a parameter. I need to do maybe 3 more in the next 5 steps of working on this. I now highlight this text, press Control K, and type in, move this to the other class, and it's done. That's crazy, right? I knew that I don't do that, but I know that regular people do that, because in our way of developing, it's we don't need to extract method and all these things. When we're implementing, we're really following exactly the same pattern.
Yeah.
There's no variation that requires that. I mean, if I'm working on the platform itself and I'm doing something in a new technology to show some concept, of course I'll use those. But once it's there, once your platform's there and you're just adding functionality, you're just adding slices, there is no need for these things.
No.
There's no dry, right? Like you're literally copy pasting a previous
Yeah.
read model. If you're doing another one that's slightly different, you don't want to extract something common. You're not using those things.
No,
But
it's boring.
yeah, but a side of me said that I still saw that XP and having this idea of fluid code, being able to really control how you manipulate your code, was a really good thing, because it it kind of focused people on being efficient at good level abstraction for themselves to get through to the requirements as quickly as possible and do a good job. So for me, I felt bad for those people that didn't have the luxury of doing event sourcing and event modeling. That a core piece for all the work that JetBrains has been doing over the years is just like gone. And my first thing when I saw AI is like, how is JetBrains doing this? And I saw an attitude that was like, well, we're not. We'll just have this little thing. And it was sad to see, because then you had things like Cursor, then you had all these other like CLI, AI Builder or whatever it was called, all of these things
Yeah.
happening. I'm like, all the things that I wanted from JetBrains are not going to happen anyway, but maybe they're not needed. I really wanted JetBrains to have a non-Java IDE. I wanted a NeoVim, Vim type of textual way of working with the tool so that I could actually work from any device and SSH into things and just be in an IDE that was textually based. And there's a lot of NeoVim people out there that do that, but they never had that real smooth AST back. Like they have these language servers, right, for doing that. So maybe there is some AST stuff happening there, but it's really hit and miss. JetBrains did a really good job. I was really sad to see that their response wasn't kind of over and beyond better than what the AI stuff was doing. So I don't
Hmm.
know if you used enough IntelliJ and all this over.
Oh, I'm deep into IntelliJ.
Yeah, I figured you
I
would be.
think I did the same thing as you. I had to really. It was really funny to hear it. You learned all these shortcuts and everything. I did the very same thing. I had
Yeah,
these shortcuts printed on my table, learn them, get crazy fast with them. The very same thing, and I still use IntelliJ. So even though I use a lot of code generation and stuff, everything I'm doing is in IntelliJ.
yeah, yeah. I really do want to have. My dream is to have a NeoVim uh, set of add-ins that allow me to have what I think was the so far the best AI workflow, which I think is Cursor, because there's three fundamental things that I want for just I don't know, especially like just doing HTML or whatever, where you're not doing the business logic, where you have to fart around with ad hoc code.
Yeah,
Um, that would be the IDE where you can select something and maybe a portion of the code or a method or two or function or two, and press Control K and say do this, and it would do it, and it would keep that change localized to what you highlighted.
yeah,
Um, you have the chat window where you can say, well, I don't care what code you have to affect, just do this, and it'll give you the set of changes that it did across all of that, and you can review them, reject them, take part of them, edit inline, whatever. That's good too. But also, it had the same thing for the terminal. Like a lot of times we have to do node app.js / test to run the test. You have to do this to push things to
yeah,
production. You have to do this to publish your website. You have to do this to copy these files or convert this file, extract, MP3 from an MP4. I can press Control K in the terminal and say, the last ls command. I don't even have to say that. I list some files in the downloads directory, and I say, can you uh, copy that and rename it to this, and then extract the MP3 for it. I hit that, and it does exactly in Bash or Fish Shell in my case, right there.
yeah,
So I can have the support that I need from what was do I really want to remember all the FFmpeg parameters for each command? Hell no. I mean, I'm
no,
always looking at the manual, right? So that eliminates that, which is great. And the last thing is, of course, to have that. This is a recent feature, which was in the actual chat for the chat to be able to have an actual automation of the command line, and where you can say that yes, you're allowed to automatically run the change directory command. Yes, you're allowed to run find. Yes, you're allowed to run grep, but
yeah,
you're not allowed to run remove, right? You don't want to delete files or move files.
yeah,
I'm going to have to click explicitly yes, you can at each step. So that was the last one. But the first three that I mentioned was really core of like supporting your workflow, because I want to be in the terminal to do most of the handling of stuff. I don't want to be dragging and dropping stuff with my mouse. I want to be, you know, keyboard enabled, and I want to have the proper context coming from a refactoring background and how these things worked. Being able to select the right context and to define what the set of changes are on it is really important in keeping that quality, so that I'm not
yeah,
constantly needing to go to the chat window and always read over all the possible things it did in so many different files. I need to make sure that that's I can have that control when I need it, and I can lose that control if I don't need it. If I'm just trying to see what it would do and see, how, do this and it'll affect the CSS, the HTML, and maybe some of the backend.
yeah,
Fine. See what you do. I want both worlds. And I think Cursor AI did that. And so, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we get the same. I'm waiting for that to be in NeoVim. so I don't have to have any IDE because I find all IDEs too heavy right now. And I think all the extra features in an IDE you get through AI on the command line. Or I can make a script incredibly fast. Give me a bash script that does this, and I'm doing that. I don't need
Yeah.
Postman and all this crap. I'll do curl, and I can say use curl to test all my API points and
Yeah, for sure.
script. And I don't want a stupid paid thing for like how the hell is Postman gonna actually survive? It's gonna survive, like Oracle databases survive, like mainframes survive to this day. It's not needed. You need light, tiny tools that are really well known with a really well known API forever, and they're not going to change at the whim of some company because Postman decides to make this paid for feature, or this one is now free, or blah blah blah, whatever. Or you need a token to use it. Forget all that garbage. I don't need that crap. Just hit the API, compare the results. That's it. If I need some dynamic stuff, I'll tell AI how that data is supposed to change, and it'll interrogate the result in a different way. I don't need extra features from crap Postman. Sorry,
Yeah.
but so anyway, I don't know.
I
So
think
to me, like this Neo Vim totally contained within within the terminal experience would be extremely lightweight. All of the IDE tools that you have, like source control add-ins and all of the beautiful VS Code plugins, they actually are not important to me. I would trade all of those plugins immediately for having something that's as lightweight as Vim, because the heavy lifting of the AST is done by the AI now. It's been outsourced. What JetBrains had as the AST is gone. The benefit of having it, unfortunately, I think that's the key sort of thing that I'm seeing. And I felt it before I realized it. Like when I saw the first AI things and I saw JetBrains' response to it, my heart sank a little bit before I realized just the extent to what I really wanted. I really said, okay, I really do enjoy these lightweight tools and NeoVim and all that. I always wanted a terminal front end for what JetBrains was doing for years, but I knew that
yeah.
they were not going to do it, right? They were always going to have a big Java-backed, JVM-based IDE, and that's the price I was willing to pay for having the refactorings and the AST to work out over and to traverse. It's not just the refactorings; it's also the code navigation, right? Go to definition, go to whatever, right? Go through all the implementations or go through all of the things that inherit this. The code navigation, flying through code on that AST was really fast too. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you had similar things in your
Actually, I'm
life.
so my current approach is I like to work in a hybrid mode. So I still work with IntelliJ, but I always have a terminal open with Claude Code running, and Claude Code integrates quite well into IntelliJ. So I spend most of my time in with Claude Code, and I have a lot of Claude skills. So building a slice, I have a Claude skill for that. So I can use my static code generator. I can use the Claude skill. So no matter how you do it, you can go crazy
Yeah.
fast with
So
that.
you go to the terminal in
Yes.
IntelliJ and do the Claude thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
My current workflow is basically I export the config from my Miro toolkit. I have then the JSON configuration, and then I have Claude Code, and I just tell it implement slice, implement this slice, it's a state change slice, and then we go. There's a
Yeah.
skill for that. Claude knows what to do, and then there's basically nothing I need to tell it because everything
Yeah.
is already there.
The other reason that I wanted that is the NeoVim type of interface is also to plug in a local model. So one of the reasons that I really want that is that the way that we develop is incredibly formulaic on purpose, and I don't need a heavy LLM to guide this type of
Yeah.
implementation. It's not, especially guiding it through MCP servers or just proper prompts with asking for a specific type of output. Really, that's what you want, is that you want the prompt to say you can only answer using this possibility of shapes and
Yeah.
and data types. I'll give each a good description, but you decide where you're going to put that in, and then I can automate the interpretation of your result as long as it matches what I told you to tell me,
Yeah.
right? And you can do that with a much smaller model than you're
Oh
not
yeah.
asking for give me the psychology of world leaders in World War II and tell me what would happen if Stalin did this. I don't want that for coding, but that's what LLMs are trained for, right?
Of course, and I think we are inevitably heading towards that. So the current prices are not sustainable, so they will go up. If you want to use these big models, you will have to pay much more than €20 a month or $20 a month. So inevitably you will end up with smaller, more highly specialized models.
Yeah, I mean,
Just a question of
I think
time.
even the bigger models are going to be cheaper anyway. I mean, the what Google did with the Gemini 3 release this week was incredible
Yeah,
because they showed that they didn't need NVIDIA at all. So this wasn't at all. It was on their own TPUs, right? That they themselves built, and they did it for a fraction of the cost. I think they did it for a quarter or less of the cost that
yeah,
OpenAI stuff works on, which is huge because while it looks like the amount of money that NVIDIA can make and others, like the AI is no longer as profitable for some things, it actually pushes AI to be way more effective. So it's hard to read how these things go, and I think I heard a really good analogy is that like the OpenAI is a Netscape navigator. They're the first one that got everyone on the net. Like OpenAI is the first one that got everyone
yeah.
to use AI, and then meanwhile you got later on you got Chrome, you got Firefox, all of these things just take over, and Netscape's nowhere to be found. So I don't know if Sam Altman has is looking carefully at Netscape history, trying not to repeat it.
I
But
don't know. We should ask him.
but it kind of looks someone said that, and it looks pretty interesting. But that is that is an incredible realization that, and the flip side of that is that most companies can't be using these TPUs. I mean, even though I forget who bought a ton of them, but they had like a large deal already for selling their TPUs. They said that they can't even produce the TPUs fast enough for the demand out there. The only issue for the TPU approach or any other new way of doing things, and this goes for AMD and others, is that the CUDA standard on the NVIDIA stuff, that language for training and all that, that library is so prolific and out there as a standard way of doing things that it might be too big a ship to turn around or too big a monopoly to get out of to remove. So
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Maybe they said the same thing about Netscape, that it's too successful, too big to be removed, but yet here we are.
quite possible.
Yeah.
Quite possible.
So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's important to talk about these things
Yeah,
in light of event modeling and event sourcing because it does affect how we work together. And I think the message that I like to tell people is that um, if you're doing event modeling and event sourcing, you don't need the best AI. You will do much better with a much lower quality AI solution
yeah.
than doing traditional stuff with the best Gemini 3 latest or whatever you're using, Claude or whatever. You're going to have if you pick the two solutions, do you do traditional development with CRUD using Gemini 3, or do you use ChatGPT 3.5 and do event modeling and event sourcing with slices? I'll pick
Which works
ChatGPT
perfectly
3.
fine. 3.5 is perfectly fine. It
Yeah,
works.
yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have to do that. So, I mean, you're even using for one of your solutions, you're using the web LLM, right?
Yes, it's integrated. You can work, but
Yeah,
this is really the results are not good enough. So you cannot work with that. But it's fun. So if you have a GPU ready, you could bootstrap a bigger model in your web LLM, and you could do everything directly in your
yeah.
browser. That would work.
Yeah, so I think the interesting thing about this industry too is that it's changing. Just like we had application specific computing ASICs for like Bitcoin mining and all this crap. Um, AI is actually doing even better for that. Like
Yeah,
the entire semiconductor thing is in a flux. Like the idea of having you know traditional CPUs and all that, they're still there, but the amount of work that's going into alternate ways of solving computational problems is crazy. Like it's really good. So whatever we thought, look at Intel. I mean, it's dying. It used
Yeah.
to be the standard, and I think the nail is not Apple silicon. It's Intel. It's AMD. AMD's got a better GPU game than Intel, and yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm quite enjoying this. I mean, this is for the first time. I'm not swimming through tons of documentation of JavaScript libraries,
Yeah.
frameworks. I'm actually enjoying coding again. It was this, hey, I'm so cool because I'm using the next thing of Vue.js, and I'm a kid that's 20 years old with no responsibility, so I can code for 20 hours a day and drink Red Bull all week. And you guys are old, and you can't keep up because you have families and other things, and yeah, you're not as fast anymore. It's like that whole thing is gone because all you can they're arguing against AI now, not me.
Yeah.
And the experience will continue to shine through because you've solved the most problems. You've gone through that. You understand what AI is automating, right? What are
And
your thoughts on this whole thing?
no matter how fast they can type,
Yeah,
if you event model, you will speed the crap out of them.
yeah,
So building an event model, generating code from it is the fastest way to build something. Even the youngsters cannot outpace event modeling. No way. We're
yeah,
not going to work.
yeah. It's just moved the playing field to a different level, which is
Yeah.
really good. And the level is the speed of working at that level is really bottlenecked by who your client is and what they can tell you. So it doesn't matter how fast you are. It's going to be your communication speed with those that are providing the
Yes.
specifications.
And I just added I did a release of my tooling today, and I added basically you no longer need to use the tooling. You can just write on your sticky notes. It's perfectly fine to write everything on your sticky notes.
Yeah.
So until now, the limitation was always you had to use these text fields and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody liked. Now you can just type on your sticky notes. Now sit together with your business expert and just type on your sticky notes whatever you want. It will work.
Yeah.
That amazing. So
Yeah.
it's crazy how fast you can build something by just modeling it and then generating code out of it.
Yeah, because
Done.
then you can ask
Half
your
an hour.
tool to formulate it into change the format to be
Yeah.
the standard one with
Yes.
the fields,
Exactly.
right? In
Exactly.
fact, AI can stick in, like, I think this should be an int. This should be whatever. It can retroactively put in what it thinks should be the data type for
Yes.
each field,
Possible.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you've never spent that was my big irritation when I saw a lot of the first automation attempts into event modeling, is that it came from the developers, and the first thing they wanted was like a catalog of all the events and the schema of them. It's like,
Sure.
it's yeah, it makes you feel good as a developer because you're answering your old relational database schema and your class definitions, but that's not how business works. And it was really irritating to see the first implementations go in and say, well, we have a catalog of all the events and their data types and how they're related. It's like, who cares?
It's funny
Like,
because just today, someone asked, when will you finally release this full event catalog in your tooling because I need it. Just
you
today,
don't
someone
need
asked.
it. And the people are saying, well, how do you know when something changes? Like, you look at the before and after. Your APIs are right there. You know exactly which events you're consuming. You can see if any of them changed. Why do you need a catalog? It's a simple query over your event model. It's literally the tiniest feature. That's not
I,
important.
I never added it because I personally, I also don't need it. I never need it in catalog. I don't know why, but
I think
I,
needing it is a symptom of some other problem.
I don't know.
That's how I see it. I think so. A lot of the event driven. Let's get into this because it's actually we're a bit of a longer episode, but we missed one last week. So let's just finish it maybe on this topic. And I think a lot of the event sourcing thunder was stolen by Kafka by saying they're doing event sourcing where they're just doing event streaming, and
Yeah.
then having these topics and all these other stuff about publishing things on the middleware. And the Kafka's not the only one. We had all these other things, mass transit, what's the other one?
There are tons of them.
There's tons of them, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. But their whole thing is that, hey, you can be like the oracle for your organization, if you know what events are flowing through your message bus, and you're a god because you understand what each service can listen to and what each service provides, and like you have the power. Like you're just centralized all these things. Like these teams that are working on the services, they don't feel that they're autonomous anymore. They have to be subservient, much to the same way that you had to be subservient to the DBA long ago. It's like, oh please, can I add this table? I promise to make good indexes on there so it doesn't ruin production. This kind of stuff. Like, it's just that's correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where that attitude comes from, is that there's a cultural thing where people really want the sense of control. They feel like they're losing control if they don't have, like, I want to know what all the data is in the system, the shape of it at all times for anything. If anything goes wrong, I need to know what's going to affect, and I got to like look out for that. And
I don't know. So it definitely comes from the developer side. No business person ever asked for an event catalog. That's for sure. And I think, I mean, what they want is, if they add a new event, they want a place to look. Is this event already there, or something like that? I don't know. Maybe something like this.
Yeah, but it's I've seen it. It's like, I want to know this and that, and like, no, we have swim lanes for different services. You can very quickly audit what your service provides, what your service uses. The little gears, if your little yellow sticky is or orange, if you're using orange, is in your swim lane for your service, you can look at each one and see what gear is attached to that. Each gear will tell you if you're integrated to someone else's source event.
Yeah,
that's it. That's like, I don't need a catalog for that. I know exactly where my integration points are. I know exactly what their schemas are. That's it. Yeah. So anyway, the tooling, you shrink everything else except your swim lane. You have it all on one screen. Like literally every single time you're integrating with another service, not only are you getting the schema, you're getting better. You're getting the workflows that are kicking off those APIs. So you're getting context of how those APIs are being used. You're getting much better with event modeling than you're getting with some stupid catalog of events. You're getting full context and the given when-thens of like exactly what shape of data, not when that's being called in terms of what workflows being implemented or being run right now, but you're also getting all the specs as to like what else it could throw at you at any point. You have the full spec at each point. And then you expand all the other things when you're back to event modeling the whole system, and you continue to work on whatever. There is no need for an event catalog. Like, why do you need an event catalog? If I have a service and I'm worried about someone changing their contract on me because they might give me a different event next week, you look at the event model. Are they working on new slices? No, that team's not working on new slices. That's fine. I don't have to worry about that because everyone marks which slices they're working on. They reserve them. The developers reserve them. If you shrink down to your service and go through each gear that shows integrations, you will see exactly what any of those teams are doing, if they're doing anything.
Yeah.
You can automate that. I mean, you could have like, hey, a team is working on new slices. It affects, possibly they might think to change one of the events because right now there's work there.
Yeah, and AI could do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential for that. Of course.
For a large enterprise, absolutely. You have like, 10,000 people working, coding on all these different things on a globally, this large thing. Why the heck would you want to centralize that into just schema? You need a lot more context for why things are happening in another division. You need to not just know that, oh, hey, there's a new field on an event. Like, why the hell is it there? Is there an easier solution? Maybe I should have called that team and say, hey, no, don't worry about that. You don't need to provide that to us. We already integrate with another thing that you don't know about that provides that for us. We don't need it from you. We can make that a requirement that you don't need to do because maybe, you calling that service complicates things because we already call it. We do it ourselves. You just didn't even know.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I have a allergic reaction when I hear like we need an event catalog when we're doing event modeling. It's like, no, we don't want to go back to the DBA equivalent from like 30 years ago. This is not the way things are supposed to go. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I have there's this event catalog.dev tool, and I have a generator for that, so you can generate one. But to be honest, I personally use this.
I mean, there's nothing wrong if that's what you need to see. I'm saying is that you shouldn't need an extra tool for it. I mean, you should be able to interrogate your event model to give you an answer. It's like, hey, give me all the schemas of all events. Click, here they are. But that's not the main goal of that. That's you're looking at the actual context in which any schema might change, why it's changing, and where those changes have an impact. Which workflows are you actually affecting? Is it enough that the name of the API tells you? No, it's not. That's not enough. You really need to know that, going back to this, behavior-driven development, the context and the example data, the story of where this is important. That gives you that actual connection to the meaning of why things are happening. What story is this part of, to really understand the impact? Not like, oh, I have a new field on an event. Like, that doesn't tell me anything. So,
what a beautiful vision, to always see the story behind every change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, so this was a good catch-up episode. I feel like we had a lot to discuss, and unfortunately, well, I mean, I'm very happy that we missed the last episode because we got a new mascot for for event modeling, and hopefully everyone that comes to the conferences will get to meet Lila, the event modeling wiener dog. Again, wiener dogs are long like event models are long, so I think it's a perfect mascot.
And you know what's really funny? Did you realize that none of the topics we discussed today was in our preparation? So absolutely nothing.
Oh, I forgot about that. Darn it.
Yeah, nice. Okay. I think we can.
Is there one important one you think you might want to mention?
No, we can tackle that.
Right? Okay.
I think we can just skip the preparation. We should just start recording.
Always just talk about stuff.
Always good.
Okay. Well, okay. So why don't we say this? Like, if people were wanting to have some implementation specific stuff, I think we touched enough about implementation. Actually, we talked a lot about refactoring and all that. But if you want something implementation specific about event sourcing or event modeling, just go to the Discord server. Again, the link is on eventmodeling.org, so you can find the link for the Discord server there. And Martin and I are there among many other really good event modeling, event sourcing people to give you answers to your questions. So always go there first. If you have a question, we just pick a few topics sometimes when we have time here to go over them. This time we got carried away, but that's okay.
That's fine.
We'll answer whatever you have in the Discord server. And so hope to see you there. And Martin, this was good to see you again and do this podcast. And then we'll see each other at a workshop soon. And of course, by the time people are hearing this, we probably already did our meeting with Allard, the nice webinar with Axonic CTO Allard. So hopefully people have seen that already. If not, maybe there's a chance this episode goes out before, but if not, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one too. All right.
Take care.
Take care, Martin. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.